are live. Everybody, but we're also on
tape.
We are deep down in the bowels. Episode 120 of Kamloops Last Week. Christopher Foulds, Magic Mike, and Bill. 120.
Kamloops Blazers. They're on a real bad slide right now,
It's
right?
a tough season.
It's a tough season.
Yeah.
People saw it coming. We didn't think it'd be this bad, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving forward. Kamloops Blazers have had dozens and dozens of NHL draft picks, right? Like dozens, several dozen. But only one has ever been drafted at 120th overall in the NHL draft. And it's Davis Parley. He played goal for the Blazers from 99 to 03. He was chosen by the Florida Panthers, 4th round, 2000. 120th overall. Had a good career in the minors, never made the NHL, but there's the 120th.
How did you dig that one up?
Just remember that.
It's just
no, I didn't remember that. I looked it up, but I just figured that Davis Parley. I remember him when I moved here. He was 2 years removed, and there were people still talking about him because he was in that 99 year. I think who was it? Clark was the coach. They went to the Western Final and lost to Calgary.
You know, I was thinking who he's like, Matt Damon and Rain Man, but he's also like Matt Damon and Good Will Hunting. You know, the chalk. It's a lot more like him because he had the dark past, like the Abbotsford past, but he's got this genius too. It's like in the chalkboard, and also he's kind of like Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. With all these things, you know, he sees things and has these numbers in his head all the time.
I also I left it in the. I had a candle. Guess whose birthday it is today?
I know, right?
Guess who's 40 years old today?
No, I'm not.
40 years old.
I'm 39.
And I had this nice candle that I texted my wife and said, "Where's the birthday candles? Do we have any?" And she pointed me to the drawer. Nice silver candle. I think it fell out in the car.
You bungled the gift. There's no candle.
No candle, but there's your.
Oh, unbelievable! Is this what's cranberry orange?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was trying to put. Yeah, I guess it fell out when I was getting out of the car. Anyway,
I'm shocked you remembered.
Happy 40th, buddy.
It's not 40. It's 39.
It's
well, you know, it's funny, Chris, because I too brought mini donuts.
Whoa!
And cranberry orange muffins. So let me.
You were shopping local.
And there's donut. Grab a donut.
I don't like but those have cream inside them.
Oh, that's
Thanks.
Okay.
I can't eat till 10. Thanks. That's good. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you remember when you turned 39?
I remember I turned 40. Absolutely. Yes. I was. My daughter was 10 or 11. My son was 8. So it was quite a while ago.
You have a big party? 40th?
40? No, I don't think so.
I did.
Did you?
I did. And my wife is 1 year older than I am, so I thought, whatever I want, I'm going to do for her. So I threw her a big party, and at Sunday, it was perfect. I got up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We were watching a movie together, went straight to the main bathroom in the house and started cleaning the toilet, and she busted down the door. She goes, "Who's coming over?" And she doesn't like surprise parties. But for my 40th birthday party, we had a surprise. It wasn't really a surprise, but it was a big bash, and we had my band get together from when I was 20.
Oh, nice.
And we had a jam session and all sorts of stuff.
Where was it?
It was at my house, actually.
At your house? Nice.
Yeah, and all my neighbors and all the staff from the shop came, and it was really great.
Cool.
So I'm really excited about your birthday because...
I'm going to Twisted Steak tonight. Sonia, my girlfriend's taking me out for a steak dinner at Twisted Steak, so looking forward to that. That's the big night. She's moving in January. So,
Big.
It's good.
Our boys growing up.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great show today. Fantastic show today. We're debuting a new segment. Are you excited about this, Mike?
Debuting?
Yeah.
I like debuting, yeah.
I like the debut. I like saying debut better than debut.
Debuting, yeah.
And it's the Last Week Media Clique segment. So every month we're going to have a panel of media folk in town. This week we have James Peters from CFJC. You and him have an issue.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to resolve it, but I don't know. It's pretty deep-seated, so.
Yes. And Kristen Holliday from Castanet, who took about a 39-week vacation this year that we'll have to ask her about as well. I don't know what their vacation plan is at Castanet.
Wow,
but
39 weeks.
It was a lot of vacation.
Well, they're probably just plotting to kill more media in town. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's not Castanet. It's their parent company, the evil overlord.
Glacier?
Yeah.
A cool guest for you, too. Somebody you know well, Brant Zwicker. And we know well, too.
Yeah,
Brent's a good guy.
He's killing it. He's always been behind the blues scene for years and years, and he had the Blues Underground that he helped start way back when too. Yeah, he's a character and
such a nice guy. Such a humble guy. We've had many a pint with him at the Fox and Hound.
Yep.
It was like a standing date Thursday afternoon. Eagles, Peter Mucci would show up. We'd there have a beer, and Brant always loved his shepherd's pie.
Brant had his reserve table there.
We should
get that going again. Yeah.
King of the Fox and Hound. Anyway, he won a huge award, the Toronto Blues Society's Blues Booster of the Year award, a national award.
Amazing. He does a lot. Yeah.
He does a lot, so we'll have him on the show. Next week, big news again, too. You're going to love this, because you loved this last year, our Christmas special, Buddy.
I know him!
Buddy and Santa, they're coming back. So we've got Buddy the Elf and Santa Claus will be here next week on our show for our Christmas special.
Yeah.
I'm asking, if you're out there watching and you have kids, send us a video, short videos, very short, asking a question for either Buddy or Santa.
So you want the kids sending you a video asking questions for Santa Claus?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Did I screw that up? Kind of.
It sounded like you wanted the parents to send the video.
Where do they
Oh
send
yeah, I
it?
want the parents to film their kids asking the question.
Miss Blake Cardi, and I am 5 years old, and my question is today, how do elves make toys when they're so tiny?
Oh, there's a question for email it to you.
And email it to Kamloops Last Week at Gmail. Will that work, Bill? Will the files be too big for them to email to me?
Gmail should be okay.
Gmail should be okay.
Should be good, yeah.
So Kamloops Last Week at gmail.com. Very short. Ask a question for Santa and Buddy. I'll compile them. They're usually pretty cute. We'll ask Buddy and Santa to answer the questions for the kids.
That was a great episode. I had the picture from last year with Santa Claus and Buddy the Elf.
Yes.
And that reminded me. It's great. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Do you have a most memorable Christmas? Did you get Christmas gifts growing up in Abbotsford?
We got some gifts. I remember the best gift, the gift I remember the most when I was a kid was when I was, there were 6 of us, or 4 of us living at home and 2 older siblings elsewhere. But I remember, and it's just weird because you remember the weirdest things, but I remember my younger brother and me got flashlights.
Oh yeah.
Little flashlights, like candy, like really bright red and bright blue. And we got all the other gifts too. And then, but we just ran down to the basement, unfinished basement, 1,500 square foot townhouse. And we turned the lights out and we just like this all day.
Lightsabers almost. But you don't really like Star Wars.
No, I don't know about Star Wars, Captain Kirk and all that. But what I do know is that when we went down there, it wasn't lightsabers. We were just fascinated by just this stupid. It's like when you have a baby when my kids are little and you get them a present. Or when they're real little, and invariably they fascinated by the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Same type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
what about you, Mike?
I'm still flummoxed by the Captain Kirk reference with Star Wars.
Do you know what his middle name is?
Tiberius?
There you go.
Yeah.
See?
Wow. Bill knew that.
Everybody knows that. It's just simple. So my most memorable Christmas gift was a guitar when I was 14. And that really changed a lot for me.
That's your career, basically.
That's a game changer for you.
Yeah.
We used to get the Rock'em Sock'em video in our stocking.
Yeah.
And I remember lots of gifts, but I remember more like it was a tradition. After we, in the morning, open our gifts as a family, I'd just go in and couldn't wait to pop in Rock'em Sock'em.
Cherries, Rock'em Sock'em.
My mom would be cooking, baking. You know, I could smell it still. You know, while I'm watching the hits and seeing what Don had to say.
It's the best.
You probably love that.
I have no idea what Rock'em Sock'em is.
Every year we got those too. They're great.
How about you, Bill?
Oh,
There's no memorable Christmas for
No.
Bill.
No.
Aw.
Okay, well, let's move on then to talk about a few things we're going to talk about later with the media panel, but we're going to team up now, get Foulds' take on some of them as we do. City Council, they decided against a third-party review of the BC housing shelter situation from the provincial government, correct? What's going on there?
This was Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson. That was the main plank of his platform when he ran for mayor. Is he said he wants to clean up the city, try to make it safer, try to get people off the streets and into rehab and all that. But one of his big things was he wanted the provincial government to do a third-party review of all the BC housing shelters and supportive housing that are operated by basically CMHA and Ask Wellness Society in Kamloops, and that he wanted to do that. He kept trying to do it in I think it was fall of 2021. David Eby, who's now premier but was then housing minister, the council of that day, before this council, they asked if they would do a review just to see how things are going. But he said, no, we're not going to do a review of the facilities there. And so that letter is what the current council is staking their position on. They're saying, hey, they already said they're not doing it. If we ask for it, we're just shouting into the wind. It's a waste of time. The government already said they're not going to do it.
And they think it might hurt relationships.
They think Kitty Newstater mentioned that she feels that if they do this, Kelly Hall said the same thing in another way, but it just strains the relationship between the social service providers, the Mustard Seed, or the Ask Wellness and the CMHA. It just shows that there's maybe a lack of trust or a lack of confidence in them. They feel it's just not good for relationship building, and the council argues that we already know what's needed. We already know what the shortcomings are. We need more wraparound services. We need more counselors. We need more caseworkers. We need more outreach workers. We need more. So we know we need more. So rather than ask for a review that Council Blaze will probably show what we already know we need, let's just keep working together, lobby the government together, and they feel that's a stronger way to get what they need.
But the mayor says lots has changed in the past 2 years.
And he has a point here, I think, in that they both have points. The council has a point in saying that we already know what the problems are. It's obvious to anybody, but it's just a matter of getting the funds and the resources. But the mayor says, well, the council keeps talking, saying they've already said no. Well, that was 2 years ago. That was in 2021 when David Eby was housing minister. The housing minister now is Ravi Kahlon. He might be more receptive to it. And I get what the mayor is saying when he said, and not only the mayor, a lawyer in town, David Paul, he called in during a open Q&A segment or open public inquiry segment yesterday. But he was kind of mistaken. He thought that the council was declining the offer of a third-party review from the provincial government, and the councillors kept saying they want to clamp down on that misinformation. David Paul misunderstood it's in the agenda, and he misunderstood what they were doing, because it was a convoluted way. It was councils going back and saying we don't want a review to something you've already denied. It was kind of a weird thing. So the lawyer thought that council was declining an offer for a review. No, council was just saying, look, the government said we're not going to have a review 2 years ago. We're reaffirming that we don't want a review, but we want to say the motion also says that we want to put on record our support to work with these places to make things better. But since then, there's a new housing minister. The government has done at least 3 reviews of the 3 specific cities, Maple Ridge, Coquitlam, and Penticton, at the request of those municipalities since that letter came to Kamloops. So if other cities can ask for and get a review, which show that those places are doing good work in Maple Ridge, in Coquitlam, and Penticton, but all 3 reviews, independent reviews, showed that there's much more that can be done and gave recommendations. As David Paul says, I agree with him and the mayor, what's the harm? I don't know if I buy the whole thing is you're going to antagonize or alienate or cause friction in your relationship, because what agency doesn't want to be better? What agency doesn't do core reviews? I don't think the city has yet, even though there's been a lot of promises by council candidates in the past. But what agency wouldn't welcome? Look, tell me what I'm doing right, tell me what I'm doing wrong, help me get better. That's how I look at it.
Okay. You have any thoughts on that?
Lots of thoughts. I don't see any problem with asking for a review. The worst thing that can happen is they can say no.
Yeah.
So
does it cost money?
No, it's a third-party review. So it costs the province money, so I guess we all pay for it in our taxes, but the city itself wouldn't be paying for it. The provincial government would be paying for it.
And it's gotten a lot different in the last 2 years.
Sure.
Just look, I saw somebody with a fire warming their hands in front of on the frontage road in Bellevue. So
I could see both sides of that argument, and I do see, Bill Sarai made a point of this is, it's becoming a waste of time. We keep talking about the same thing over and over and over. We're not going to get the review in their point, so let's just try to use our time proactively and effectively and do something else. So I see both sides of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't see a problem in saying, hey, review them. You might find extreme deficiencies as a third-party review. You might find that they're doing a great job with what resources they have. Mm-hmm. Again, it's all your perspective. I think both sides have a point, but I don't think there's a problem in asking the new housing minister, hey, can you review these places and see what's working, what's not working, and maybe you have some really great ideas from other communities you can implement here.
This story kind of ties into our next one, which is about the torch vehicle on the mayor's
yes, and I forgot to take a look when I drove by today like an idiot. But anyway,
you drove like an idiot today?
No, like an idiot. I was planning to drive by the mayor's now dormant. Well, yeah. It's dormant in that there's no business being done there. But he owns True Auto Market, which is a new and used car lot on Victoria Street. Victoria Street West, right where all some of the social housing is, and a lot of problems are in town. And he has a couple of vehicles just sitting there, and one SUV has been set ablaze a few times by people. I think reportedly they're trying to keep warm. They go inside, maybe they light a fire, and the thing goes up in flames. It's wrecked, and so because it's been set ablaze a few times by people who are out in the street, the Kamloops Fire Department, Kamloops Fire Rescue Chief, has ordered it to be removed. He says it's a hazard because it's attracting people, and it's close by another building. It could cause a bigger fire. And so he said on Monday, which was 2 days ago, December 10th, 11th, he ordered it out. He said, you got to tow it out. And the mayor says, I'm not going to tow it out because I have a right under my auto dealer's license to have, I can have 50 wrecks on because there's valuable parts in there. When we asked him that last week, I asked him last week, are you going to, why don't you get rid of it? He says, well, there's the transmission's good. There's stuff in there that's valuable. And I said, why not?
He was also waiting for insurance too, wasn't he, or something?
I think he might have said that, but he argues that it's no more of a hazard than any car in town in which someone wants to set ablaze, and he has a right to do that. And then he pointed across the street to the Rosethorn Social Housing and to the Emerald Center Shelter,
and all the calls,
and says there's like 800 calls last year. I think this year to the end of September, in yesterday's council meeting, the fire chief said there's been about 150 calls to those places, so it's down a lot through the first 9 months of this year. But he pointed there and says, well, that's where the problem is. That's where the problem started, so focus on there. And so there's a sort of standoff there. So he had 48 hours to remove the car, and if he didn't do it, the city was going to do it and then tow it away, store it, and if necessary, dispose of it, and they were going to bill him for that. So I was going to drive by today to see, well, it's been 48 hours.
Is it still
there? The car there? And I got busy and I forgot to look. But that's what's happening there.
Okay. Did you take the gondola out to Maca Ranch?
I was not aware there was a gondola there, but I'm excited about gondolas, and recent events have made me more aware of gondolas. And I think
it hasn't been constructed yet.
I think they should do it, though, because you can imagine having a gondola and being able to go for a ride into greener pastures, because they have very green pastures at Maca Ranch.
And what else do they have there? The happiest animals that you could ever find.
They're happy.
It's good, clean food. Chicken's on special right now. It's so good. And it's so cheap right now. It's $6.50 per pound. The birds are an average about 4 to 6 pounds for these chickens. So instead of having a turkey dinner, why don't you think about having a chicken dinner and shopping local at a local independent business like Maca Ranch? They have December specials as well, Mike.
And there's no steroids or hormones or anything like that, or pesticides.
No pesticides. They have the pork package and the farm package. So you bundle it up. You save between $15 and $20 on each one. I'll run some of the posters they have right now so the great viewers can see it. You can get it delivered too. They deliver to Kamloops, as we know, so you don't have to take that gondola out there. Check them out, macaranch.ca. You can email them to it's info@macaranch.ca, and I'd like to make an announcement right now. I'm going to order some lamb from them, and this is my order. I'm telling them right now that I'm ordering some lamb from Maca Ranch, and I want it delivered by Big Mike.
Okay, well I'll match you there, and I'm going to order some steaks.
Look at that.
There you go.
And Mike.
I'd like some lamb chops.
Okay. We'll talk about this. I didn't realize this was going to happen, so
there we go. Yeah,
we're going to get the ball rolling for Maca Ranch and get some good, clean food.
There's a minimum order. I might need some.
Well, yeah, you owe him money.
Speaking of money,
$10. Yeah, I'll get it to you.
$10 from last week.
We get time for one topic again before we talk about Terry Low. How about the congestion on Lansdowne? What's going on with that?
They're doing a review to try to get, if you've gone down Lansdowne anytime during the day, usually in the morning or afternoon and rush hours, Lansdowne goes west. And the lights really don't match up, and you're always backed up. And it's crazy sometimes, right? It's nuts. So they're trying to fix it around First at City Hall, First in Lansdowne. And they figure if they can change some of the lanes, add a second northbound lane turning left, it would change the light patterns, and they're going to sync something up with the train light at Second so that it's a little more effective and fluid. But they're doing a review, and they're going to talk to some people. But one of the proposal is to get rid of that lane. You know, as you're coming into the city on if you're coming, you're turning up First Avenue and you want to take a left into Victoria Street, that would be blocked off now. You'd have to go up to Seymour and come around as part of this plan. And that was a little concerning. Nancy Beppel mentioned for cyclists, they don't want to go all the way up like this. How do they cross? It's just a little thing, but it's a big thing to the businesses there, because if you improve the access, improve the flow of traffic by this plan, you close off one of the only accesses to Victoria Street. And some businesses there might say that that's going to impact their business.
Your downtown business, you're not exactly right down in that area.
No, you're east of downtown, as
yeah,
I say.
we've got our own parking lot,
Yeah,
but I've had businesses downtown and where I've relied on parking in the streets and traffic flow and stuff like that. And I think you got to make it easy and not confusing for consumers to come to your shops.
Yeah. It's
So-
the ministry has a Ministry of Highways, I think it is, or it's a national actually transportation department has a list, A to E, A to F. A means the traffic is flowing really well. B is a little bit congested, and it's each street is ranked based on flow. And Landsdowne Street is the second worst. It's E, which is always clogged all the time, and F is like standstill stuff. F is like
I'm not down there enough. I don't notice that enough.
It's really bad.
It's tough. Yeah,
it's tough.
It's tough.
I mean, for Kamloops it's bad. It's nothing like going to Vancouver, and it takes you just as long to get from Langley to Vancouver as it does to get from Kamloops to Abbotsford, right? Because it gets blocked up.
Sounds a bit like Kamloops problems.
But it is pretty bad. I mean, it is bad. You can sit there and wait 3 or 4 lights before you even move a block.
You won't care about the safety of the pedestrians or the cyclists.
Well, I'm just glad that cycling thing got canceled, because then we probably go down to Z on that list, because it would be like we were going backwards.
Maybe what we should do is have a gondola that goes over Lansdowne.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We could be the city of gondolas.
Do you know what? Speaking of that, you know what? Because we're speaking about gondolas on the show for a lot, I'm getting some Twitter replies, X replies, whatever it's called. And there was a gondola in Kamloops that went from Mission Flats up to behind where the city works yard is now, and it was done during the war to get supplies up there, because we were an inland war port. And there's
wartime
gondola, and it was used so the armaments would come to the train station, and they had this special trolley car that would go down to Mission Flats and onto the gondola and up. And
don't tell me that gives you some kind of backing for your argument.
Maybe we can resurrect that.
People went up the gondola, and I'm looking for it this week because I got nothing but time. I'm going to go up there because I was told there are remnants of the gondola you could find there at the lower part of the Kanakarite part, north of the city works yard.
Cool.
So there you go.
I mean, that's a good fact.
If it's good enough to fight the Nazis, it's good enough for right now in 2023. But no,
I don't know how that
you don't care about authoritarian governments. You probably liked what Hitler did. It's horrible what you're saying here. So
that's the second time in 2
I'm
weeks.
just saying.
Reid made a Hitler comment today on his way out the door.
Well, I'm just saying, you should look yourself in the mirror and say, if you want to fight fascism, support the gondola.
Gondolas.
I want to fight high taxes and pointless idiots making dumb decisions like that. That's what I want to do.
High taxes? How about overpass for $10 million to nowhere?
I don't actually like that. I'm playing devil's advocate with you on that one. I don't think the overpass is a good idea. I just like to fire you up. Okay, but you know what was a good idea? What we did last weekend, Mike, wasn't it?
It totally was. Chris, why don't you say what we did last weekend?
Well, last weekend we saw the river was really low again, and we thought, well, we've been in nature enough here.
We have been in nature way too much.
So we decided, we went downtown, and we decided to go into the Blue Grotto, because they had that legendary that show on Saturday night, the 3 bands, that Decoys and 2 other bands, and of course Marty, he was up there, buying shooters and stuff like that.
But there was also a car show on in there too. It was a concert / car show, and who dominated? Who had the best cars on display?
I think it was definitely Volkswagen.
It was Volkswagen, and who was there? Terry Lowe. And he walks up to Chris and he starts explaining the new lease program, and he says those numbers that get you going.
And I dropped my beer.
4.99%.
I dropped my beer.
That's lower than bank rate.
Everywhere.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
He was dumbstruck. He was flummoxed. He starts walking around the bar like he's Walking Dead, right? Just like running into people. And it was a scene.
Well, I dropped my Heineken. It smashed everywhere. Went on to me. Should have had a PBR. And my shirt was wrecked.
That's when we started doing body shots.
That's right.
And it got really bad because I have a 2-ounce belly button.
You did, but instead of putting liquor in there, we put some festive McCafe season peppermint hot chocolate and mocha into Mike's belly button. You loved that.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and then
good enough.
Yeah,
but we did soil. I mean, the grotto. They were so good there, and they had tablecloths out there, and some of the car areas had blankets underneath that were just soiled by Foulds knocking things over. So we had to go over to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. The holiday sales on.
It's amazing. I still am baffled. So you buy one?
No, that's no longer on. That sale's no longer on.
Good.
No,
good, because that was like crazy.
They've got a better, lower deal sale on. It's their blowout sale, holiday sale on right now. Maytag fridges, the wall ovens, a stainless steel Frigidaire. Unbelievable what they have right now at Gord's. Blowout sales.
I need me a new fridge. So, hey, you know they have fridges with TVs in them now?
I did not know that.
And that'll actually tell you when you're running low?
Oh, those things, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a bit scary.
I don't know if they have those at Gord's.
They're gimmicks anyways.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our next segment. It's our first ever edition of the Last Week Media Clique with Kristen Holliday and James Peters, brought to you by McDonald's.
The fact that I'm able to help people every day is the best thing, and also be able to have fun along with my coworkers. And then if you talk about how it has helped me outside work, I would say financially, of course, because now I've moved up. I started as a crew, and I've moved up all the way up to a first assistant. So now it has definitely paying me more money, and in this way I'm able to help my parents, which are back home, sometimes buy them good things, or even buy myself good things. And like, I'm totally financially independent living by myself.
So you say you've worked up the ladder already. Do you want to keep going, and what are your goals here?
Of course. So I started as a crew. I became a crew trainer. I became a shadow. I became a team leader. Then I became a second assistant, and I got promoted to a first assistant like 4 months ago. So of course the next step would be a GM.
Next step would be a GM.
Yes, fingers crossed. And then whatever the future brings, but I'm definitely eager to grow and learn.
Okay, I think you're going to do it. I think you got it, GM. The next GM right here.
Yes.
What did you guys think about that little clip there? Need some work?
It's fine.
I think Chris is for the Above the Foulds. That's got the best music.
Yeah,
I think.
That music's made by a buddy of mine, Scott Finley. He makes all the music, but the graphics department needs some work. And that's,
Tidy Whities, right?
That's me.
No?
Yeah, the Tidy Whities.
He's in a band called the Tidy Whities.
Yeah.
So if they play in town, the Tidy Whities play in town, they're going to play all your greatest hits?
Yes.
All the intros?
Absolutely. Just the intros, like 7-second clips.
The intros. Yeah.
James Peters, CFJC, Kristen Holliday from Castanet. It's our first ever Last Week Media Clique segment. James, are you guys okay? Mike and you, because you watch the show, and there's been some comments made about your hometown or where you're from.
I think we'll be okay. Yeah. I mean, if any city is used to taking some abuse, it's Winnipeg.
Couple on the chin. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. No, it'll be all right. And you know, he's talking about the mosquitoes, and he's not lying. Like that's the truth.
It was a good thing. Like they're so big. How big are like that? That's it's. All right.
Yeah, no, that's the joke that I told you later on. Is that it's our provincial bird. Mosquito.
Kristen, why don't we start with you? Council. What's about council yesterday? Anything stand out to you about council yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of interesting things that came up yesterday. It was a bit of a newsy day. So they talked quite a lot about the financial plan bylaw, the tax rate coming up. One of the councillors put forward basically wanting to do an efficiency review as well in light of the 10.8% tax rate that is kind of eyed for next year. Right. There were some other things that came up too. They talked a bit about the Landsdowne Street corridor and some potential things they're looking at there. It's going to go to a public consultation next. And I guess the other thing was the agencies
with
pushed
BC
for a
Housing.
review for BC Housing, and obviously this is something that Reid talked about quite a lot on the campaign trail. He's talked a lot about recently still wanting to have that third-party review for agencies, but that's something that the rest of council has said, you know what, we're not interested in this. So they've decided to pass a motion saying they're going to send a letter letting it be known that they're not interested in doing that. So lots came up.
Yeah, why don't we start with that one then, James, and get your thoughts on
that. There's some wordsmithing going on with that letter. Reid Hamer-Jackson, the mayor, gave a pretty impassioned defense of calling for this third-party review of agencies that are funded by BC Housing, and because that was pretty much a signature campaign issue for Reid, is this review. So he defended it tooth and nail. What council is relying on is communication from David Eby from 2021 when he was the minister in charge of BC Housing, saying no, this is not going to happen. Eventually, the discussion yesterday kind of came around to, well, if you offer it, we'll take it. We'd be open to it, but we're not going to call for it because we accept that you said in 2021, the province said you're not going to do it. So Reid, eventually, as always happens, Reid and council just got tired and fed up with arguing with each other, and Reid sort of dropped it.
Yeah. Foulds, any?
Well, just on that point, in 2021, Eby was housing minister. Now it's Ravi Kahlon, and since then, they've done at least 3 reviews at the request of the municipalities. August of this year, Maple Ridge. September this year, Coquitlam, and in June, Penticton. And all 3 city councils said, we want you to review identical places that we have, just because we have some issues with it. And so BC Housing, the housing minister said, okay, and they did 3 reviews. Actually, the requests were last year. It took a year to do them. And all 3 reviews came in and said they're doing work that needs to be done, but there's deficiencies, and here's what you need to do to maybe improve them. And all 3 city councils said it helped them greatly, and the social service agencies, in identifying the gaps and saying we should do that. City council has said that we already know what the issues are, so let's just work together to try to get them done.
And that's antagonize these.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. But on that point about antagonizing, I disagree with the news stater said, well, it's going to cause friction. Well, what agency wouldn't want to be improving itself? What agency doesn't do self-reviews? Even in the newsroom, when I was the editor, I would send out periodically letters to all the reporters saying, what am I doing right? What am I doing
got one
wrong?
of those letters.
What am I doing?
I never got one of those letters because I would have ripped you.
No, what can we do better?
So I was keeping my own log.
What's working, what's not working, how can we improve? And that's all they're asking for.
Yeah.
So I see both sides, as we talked at the opening of this show. I see both sides of this. But to rely, I think the weakness is City Council's reliance on a letter that's 2 years old from a minister who's no longer in the place, and in light of the fact that since then, at least 3 that I know of, 3 reviews have been done at the request of city councils in other parts of and they say it's helped them move forward.
Kristen, is there a next part of this, like a next part of this story to come? What, or is it over now, or what?
I think so.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think they're going to say. I don't think Reid would say it's over. I think he will probably still be pushing for this.
He'll bring it up.
He'll bring it up again. But certainly, I think at this point, as far as council is concerned, they're sending the letter. It's they've said this is not something we want to pursue.
Listening to the discussion yesterday, it became clear, I think, and it was like a 45-minute discussion on this one thing, that there's part of it that's about the actual content and about the substance of what they're trying to decide, and part of it is just council's dug in and Reid is dug in, and they're just never going to come to an agreement on something like this.
And then it gets into all the ancillary stuff, like Stephen Karpuk during that discussion, and he noted the 45-minute thing, and he said, you're violating Section 100 of the Community Charter. I think you're in conflict in talking about this. So it goes into all these spokes, all these. Like, it's the letter, but it's way more than that.
You did a good story. We were talking about the burnt-out vehicle on the mayor's lot. You did a story on that. I think it was Monday you did your story.
Tim wrote that one on Monday. I wrote one about maybe a month ago or so.
About a month ago.
About the same thing.
Yeah. Is there any comments on that story? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, today is going to be an interesting day because the fire chief, Ken Uzalak, I brought a copy along of the order that he gave to Reid to remove this vehicle from his property, and he gave this to him on Monday, and he has 2 days. So today's day 2. Yeah, you can.
Well, can you send this to me too, and I'll put it up on this?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
It says there the vehicle has to be removed by Marty's birthday. So and today's your birthday.
Yeah.
They're going to light it up for like candles.
40 candles right there.
I think that's what they're trying to avoid is having it be lit up again.
I wonder how this one ends. Any thoughts from you?
I don't know. If it's not the mayor's property, then are we really talking about it? But it is the mayor's property, right? So we do talk about it. We're gonna look at it as a newsroom this week as well.
Yeah.
It is a little strange that a single vehicle that's been lit up 2-3 times now
2 times.
is still just sitting there. I get both. Once again, I get Reid saying if I had 50 vehicles here, I've got the proper zoning and the business license to have a car lot here. If I had 50 vehicles, it wouldn't be an issue, but because I've got only one, it is. At the same time, clearly this thing is attracting, people who want to keep warm or want to use it as shelter. It looks like it's been neglected because it's a burnt out vehicle on a lot. Right?
I think the fire chief had said. I mean, I've driven by it. There's been some, I think, plywood or some wood on top of it now. There's, I think, Ken Uzalak was saying there is a sleeping bag found inside. So
there's like cinder blocks and cardboard and exactly material. It's attracting stuff that you don't want. Right?
Let's move away from Reid and talk about Build Kamloops. Foulds, do you want to lay this one out?
Just we should talk about the update because people want to know. Build Kamloops is this idea of City Council to do a whole bunch of proposals, not just the Perform Arts Center, but maybe a curling center, maybe more sheets of ice, maybe RCP detachment. Put them all under one big referendum to say this is our plan for the next 20, 30 years. It's going to cost this much money, and we're going to do it in stages, but we want approval now rather than go piecemeal every time and fight tooth and nail to try to get it done, right? So what's the update as to when we might go to a referendum or whether we'll go to counter petition, which might be a wiser thing because it gives them 2 shots at it rather than 1. So what have you heard at City Hall about what's going on with Build Kamloops?
Go ahead.
I think the last that I've heard, there was a committee meeting back last month, I believe it was, where they talked about that. They brought up the RCMP detachment upgrades that they're looking at doing, and then they heard from the numerous kind of committees that are working behind the scenes. They looked at it was I think a comparison. They done a study of similar cities that had put in these recreational facilities. Looked at some of the prices. There was some pools that were like 110, 120 million they were looking at for the cost. So they were able to give the committee an idea maybe of what some of these costs, what some of the lead times for specialized parts they're looking at.
Right.
So there's a lot of things they talked about. I think they said in that case about half of the cities that had done this process went through an assent vote.
Yes.
So
There's going to have to be some borrowing. It's such a massive, huge.
Well, they can do 2 things,
plan,
right? They can after a certain point. This reaches into the stratosphere of money where they either have to go to referendum, and if it gets killed, you're done, or they just approve it. But then counter petition allows people to 30 days, I think, to get 10% of electors.
80 days.
And you gave me a history lesson about 2008.
Well, 2008 was the first and might be the only time, I think, in BC where it succeeded, and that was the parkade in Riverside Park.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot, yeah. And the people who like the park, the farmers market crowds, I call them, they didn't like that. And it was only $11 million, I think, back then. So council approved it. And thinking that this possibly couldn't be done because getting enough signatures, 10% of the signatures within the 80 days, 90 days, whatever it is very hard to do. But they got way more than that. And they presented to City Council, the City Hall, and Council then has two options. Then they go to referendum or they just kill it. And with the parkade, they knew with the massive amount of signatures that they weren't going to win this in a referendum, so they just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So if they go to this Build Kamloops, or if they did this in 2015 when the PAC referendum was defeated, they could have just approved it. But if people come back and say, we don't want it, go to referendum, if you get a lot of people who don't want it, then you're you're looking like you're screwed, right? So, but I think going to a counter petition, the assent is probably the wiser thing to do, because if you go to referendum and it's voted down, you're done. If you just approve it and then people say, well, we get enough signatures, we want to go to vote, then you go to vote, then you might win.
Yeah.
The appeal to going to referendum, I think, is you feel you have more of a mandate. You have more. If you win a referendum, you have an actual movement forward. Of people who have said yes, we approve of this. The big thumbs up.
Do you think? What do you think would happen if a referendum came on?
Right now,
that?
Probably I wouldn't give it much. I wouldn't bet on it, because look at think in this entire century, this is probably the worst time to do anything with respect to more money. We got the highest tax increase this century. This year, again, next year will be higher. You have water rates going through the roof. You have concerns about wages at City Hall, about just increases with the QP cops, which is out of their control. Firefighters, it's all coming up. So I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah. Did you have thoughts? Were you wanting to say something, or were you just leaning in and gazing? Were you gazing at James?
I was gazing longly at James. Yeah. No, I was actually mesmerized by the brain trust that we have going on here right now, by what this represents, and I think that you can imagine the bigger picture of being able to tackle things together and work together to do to make Kamloops a better place. This is a really cool thing that's going on here. So that's all I got to say.
But so you brought up the Lansdowne congestion. That was a topic yesterday. Do you want to recap or talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, they're looking at this intersection. It's a really busy intersection. They're saying, obviously, we've all driven it. It backs up quite a bit, especially during peak times along Lansdowne, up first. And so they're saying that with some changes, they will be able to improve the traffic flow along Lansdowne. The change that they're looking at is there's a turn.
Left turn going south.
Yeah, I get confused with the directions.
Going south on first, going up first, right in front of City Hall. You take a left into Victoria Street. That's relatively new. That's relatively new, and that would be gone. So people couldn't go there, and that's going to concern people in the Victoria Street.
The businesses, because that's why it's there in the first place.
To get them in there, right?
Is to get them onto Victoria Street. And so that would change into a left-hand turn going onto Lansdowne. And so then you wouldn't have the...
No, you'd have to go up to Seymour to get back into downtown, coming the other way. Yeah.
Okay, right.
I always feel that with when it comes to traffic decisions, this is something that every Tom, Dick, and Harry in town has an opinion on. Like, they should do this and that and this. But that is, the way traffic flows, there's science behind it, right? And they do studies, and I always feel like it's best left to the people who do the studies to figure out how to get traffic flowing the best way.
I think I agree. I agree with that. I don't have a good opinion on it because I don't know the science behind what would work better. I understand what the businesses are saying though. If they want people to be at the businesses, it makes sense. I just don't really know because I'm not down there enough. I never noticed the back. Like, is it that bad? Like,
it does back up. You come from a Blazers game, especially too, but it'll be backed up on Lansdowne. Everybody coming from the Blazers game to get up the hill to Sahali or Aberdeen.
Even during like 4
but is this like
Kamloops
bad?
Every day.
Kamloops mindset bad.
It is Kamloops.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not Vancouver. It's not Vancouver bad.
But we're not in Vancouver, so it is a concern.
You think we're in Pittsburgh?
Oh, with the gondola? Yeah, we need a gondola.
Unbelievable.
No,
what do you think about gondolas? Do you think it's you watch a show like his?
Well, I wouldn't want to. Once again, I wouldn't want to put a referendum out for a gondola right now.
No. Well, we should put a referendum for the overpass then, if that's the case, and see the people. I think that would fail like tomorrow.
Where are you from originally?
Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see gondolas. Are there gondolas in Vancouver?
Well, they don't have a gondola. They got the Grouse Mountain tram. Whatever
yeah, and there's long been talk about a gondola.
Fraser, right?
Exactly.
We could do one at Mount Paul.
Yeah.
There was one proposed for Mount Paul by that shady guy who also had the Cedric's water park thing.
Oh, right.
He wanted to build a gondola with a rotating restaurant at the top of St. Paul.
Oh, weird. Didn't work.
Quite the view from up there.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Calling him shady here.
Shocker.
I think he's still in town.
I didn't mention his name. And hey, he likes the summer. So that's all. He goes by trees. But no, I'll say again, he's shady. Shady as hell. Jeez. I know people who lost money in that. So yeah.
You don't have a job.
I did. I lost
have a job
I
to
lost
lose
money.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay, what else do we want to talk about?
I wanted to mention, Kristen touched on it briefly, but one thing that happened at council this week that I haven't really seen in my, now I'm like my 17 years here in Kamloops and covering council, is that council did ask, they asked for, I think, more than efficiencies from staff, as they actually asked staff to come back and tell us where we might be able to make cuts. And City Council has not discussed service cuts seriously before. So that I think, the councillors heard loud and clear that 11% tax increase is not going to be palatable to a lot of people. So they said, come back with some suggestions as to where we can actually make cuts. The staff's practice is to come back with a budget, is to come to council with a budget every year that maintains service levels exactly where they are, and there's some increases that go with them, those service levels, because of negotiated staffing agreements and that type of thing.
Okay.
But this is the first time, like I say, that they've actually asked staff to come back with some areas where we could cut services, and I think that's it's probably a wise thing for council to do, to say we have to take this these tough decisions on making cuts on ourselves, as opposed to letting staff try to make those decisions.
They've heard, they're hearing the sentiment out there.
They have to, 11% is something, the other jurisdictions might be more used to, but Kamloops is certainly not used to 11%. So there's a lot of property owners who are not going to be happy with that.
And plus, Kamloops taxes are amongst the highest in the province. They're, I think it's top 5 in the entire province, the tax rate, very, very high. So, my house, I pay less taxes. I pay more taxes than my brother who lives in North Vancouver, and his house is worth far more than mine. So there's an argument there that we are highly taxed here. There's reasons for it, but there are other cities similar size that pay Maple Ridge, almost the same size as us.
Yep.
I think 30 square kilometers smaller. Their tax bill is half of ours.
We talked to Helen about this.
Yeah. So.
Any vacation plans? You get about 19 weeks vacation a year, so I can't believe the length of the Castanet vacations.
What?
You took a vacation last year. I was following you on Instagram. It was probably a 14-week vacation.
14 weeks, that's right.
Wow.
Is that what you had?
Instagram live.
How many weeks do you guys get there?
I have 3 weeks of vacation.
Right. There's no way that was only a 3-week vacation.
And then we'll get a week in dog years. And then we'll get a week at Christmas. So I've got a week between Christmas and New Year's, and that'll be good.
I'll be paying attention to that.
Yeah.
14. How many weeks do you guys get? Or I guess on seniority.
Well, it's we're a negotiated agreement, so you start up at 3, I believe, and then as you get longer in the tooth, you get more vacation time.
I think I maxed out at 5.
4 or 5, yeah. So
5. I was at 5. I think I got to 5.
And you're saying that we have a long.
Well, but you don't care what the actual parameters are. You just go to France for 4 months, and that's fine. Okay. Anything else, Mike? We good?
I don't have anything else to add, but
continue abusing our guests, and then we'll be back. Yeah.
Okay, James, Kristen, thanks. We'll see you next time, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I was a little sad. I was a little bit sad because the Black Friday sale is over. But wait. The Boxing Week blowout is here.
It is.
What can you tell me about the Boxing Week blowout?
Boxing Week blowout. We've got a few things going on. We got a nice microwave that we're going to blow out. It's over here.
This one right over here. Yeah. It's been sitting around for a while. It's a beautiful microwave.
It's lovely. Also, this black stainless steel Whirlpool range. Regular $19.49, on for $14.49. $500 savings.
That's $500 off, folks.
And it's a beauty. It's got nice 3 racks. It is Aqualift self-clean, so you don't have the high temperature. It just does it with water and steam. Frozen bake, so if you put a frozen lasagna or pizza in, you push that and it goes to the temperature that it's supposed to be for that.
Okay.
This would be a beautiful pop of color if you have a white kitchen and you just want to go ta-da. Great deal. 3 burners on the top. A lot of people like that because you can put all 3 of your pot sizes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Brent Swicker, what do you think about that intro video, Above the Foulds?
It was awesome.
Not bad,
awesome.
eh?
Good music.
Knocked me out.
Mm-hmm. You know what's awesome?
The face.
You. He is. We know Brant pretty well. We've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
We used to go to the Fox and Hound, and have beverages, and you like the shepherd's pie sometimes.
Yes.
But you're here not to talk about that.
We can if you like.
We can talk about that, but I want to talk to you about the award. It is, let me make sure I get this right, Toronto Blues Society's Blues Booster of the Year Award. It's a national award for your basically support of blues in the country, right? So what does this mean to you?
Absolutely nothing. Can we talk about something else? No, it's funny because I mentioned to somebody, I think maybe for some of the prep for the bio, that I just do this because I want to, because I love the music, I love the people and that sort of thing, and for something like this to come along is just, what?
You had no idea?
No idea.
How does one win this award? Who nominates you?
It's a good question. Well, the Toronto Blues Society, but they must have a committee. I'm assuming, and they just, it's a support position. So you have, the awards are generally for musicians. So these are for the broadcasters, writers, festival organizers, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I guess they decided, I've been doing the show for over 20 years, and it was time to...
I was going to ask you, is this specifically because of At the Crossroads, or is it like a compilation of your accomplishments?
I think both. I think the show is probably the major part of it, but there's concert promotion and fundraising, and
What is that?
This is a calendar. Can you see that?
The blues in black and white.
I'll blow it up big on the screen too.
Okay. Yes. It's just a fundraising thing I've done with my own festival photographs, and the money goes to Kamloops brain injury.
Cool.
Good. Been doing it for the stepdaughter of a good friend of mine had a brain injury, so that's kind of
that's the link.
The connection.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, what is At the Crossroads? How long have you been doing it for?
It's a 60-minute weekly blues program. Started in February 2003. So it's coming up on its 21st birthday. It focuses on new blues. There's a couple of segments. One's a classic cut, sort of for perspective on the new material. But the whole point is to say, okay, here's 12 new songs, well actually 11 this week. The best stuff I could find this week. We'll do it again next week.
Why did you start doing it?
I was doing a blues show at the university station at the time, but of course it's very localized. So I just thought, well, I'd like to do something that's got a larger reach. Get into syndication plus the internet.
Mm-hmm. So and is this a job for you, like a?
Well, I do it like a job. It doesn't pay, but that's again it's back to the love of the project.
Have you heard At the Crossroads is heard Canada, US, Europe? Have you heard from people in Europe or elsewhere who've reached out just unsolicited to say, hey, I like this show, or here's someone you want to listen to, or just to give you some ideas?
Yeah, I get music all the time from people that have obviously plugged into the program or heard about it and sent it to me to be checked out. I don't get a lot of feedback. It's a pretty solitary kind of thing. Obviously, the Toronto Blues Society's aware of it.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's kind of an odd profession. I think any broadcaster will tell you, sitting in a studio all by yourself, you might have an engineer or something, but it's pretty solitary.
Mike, you've known Brant for a while too, right?
Oh yeah.
And what do you make of this award, and kind of what Brant's meant to the blues community?
I think it's really well deserved. Brant's been, we do music in the park, and all the bands are there sound checking, and Brant shows up, and basically they ignore me totally, and just talk to Brant. He's been such a supporter of music. You were very supportive of us with Riversong guitars, and just you're really held in high regard with musicians and what you're doing. And I remember when you started the At the Crossroads at Henry Small's studio, way back then, and also you were involved with the Blues Underground too, right?
Yes, and we started at least one, maybe two other spin-off blues societies. They didn't last all that long, maybe a year, but that was a blast, bringing in bands and everything from Powder Blues to Kenny Blues Boss Wayne, and it was a great time. So that's part of that background, I guess. Is that there's
In fact, in this building here, didn't we do something in the maybe the 90s? Somebody saw Highway 101 or something like that in this building. Was that you? It was a blues band.
It was somebody else.
Somebody else.
Yeah,
he was really great to work with, so I thought it might have been you.
It's possible. It was more than a week ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, congrats on it anyways.
Thank you.
So we got something in common. I spent about 10 days driving through the deep south of the U.S., Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas. And I got to Tupelo. It's not blues, but it was Elvis's home, and that was kind of cool.
Bluesy, yeah.
And then I got to Muscle Shoals, but I never got to the Delta, to Meridian. So you have organized at least 2, if not more, tours for blues aficionados. You fly down south, and you take them on a tour of all the blues, the birth of the blues, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
I sort of affectionately called it a Delta crawl. In 2018, I think, 2015, we flew from Vancouver to Houston to Memphis, and then from there it was a 2-week sort of a slide down through the Delta to New Orleans. And we stopped at Clarksdale and Greenwood, Vicksburg, Crystal Springs, which is the Robert Johnson Museum, and then New Orleans itself. So it focused on music, food, history, did Civil War stuff.
Vicksburg, big battle.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a huge park there that you have to take a bus through.
Very cool.
To see where they charged up here and the guns are over here. And
neat.
Yeah. Wow.
So when I was in this is fascinating because that's the deep south. That's the deep south.
Yes.
In the almost far north, when I was in Edmonton, I lived in Edmonton for 5 or 6 years in the 80s. Amos Garrett, Big Miller, Rusty Reed and the Southside Shuffle, Gay DeLorme. Do you know those names?
Oh, yeah.
I worked in a Billy Budd's blues bar, and it was fantastic. And that's where I learned a bit about blues and listened to all the blues. But Edmonton has a huge blues.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, Blues on White.
Yeah, Blues on White, yeah.
All kinds of places, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You've talked about, well, I do it for the love. Where does the love come from? Why blues? Why do you love blues?
It's a good question because it wasn't sort of a wake up one morning and there it is. It was an evolution. And I think at some point, maybe in the early 70s, I kind of looked back and went, oh yeah, the early Beatles, early Stones was all R&B, and then Stax, the label, was my favorite label in the 60s. So Sam and Dave and Otis Redding, all that sort of stuff. So it was a kind of a retrospective, and then decided, well, I guess I just, things kept evolving, and the things I preferred had a blues orientation to it. It wasn't necessarily John Lee Hooker at the time. That came later, I think. And then, say, the campus station, I started doing a blues show because we needed one, and one thing led to another. So it was a gradual growth.
Campus, we're going to ask you about campus radio. You're not involved now?
No, retired. Yeah.
What do you make of the state of campus radio in general?
Generally, it's pretty good. I think it's the saving grace for a lot of material, like the blues, like jazz, classical,
spoken word, all that stuff.
Yes, which a lot of commercial radio does what it does, but it doesn't do a lot of that sort of thing. So, I think it's one of the great sectors. I mean, you get CBC, commercial, and campus community. So, praise be.
Praise be.
Praise be.
We were going to ask you about, Foulds brought this up. I didn't really know this. You're kind of an amateur historian. Well, we just talked about that a little bit with the blues, but in Kamloops, you led walks connected to the tragic shootings in June 1962.
Yeah.
What was that? Well, that was George Booth. Shot and killed 3 Mounties in
Yes.
Peterson Creek, right?
Yep.
Where does your interest in that come from?
Again, I think even from being a young person in school, history and geography were my 2 favorite subjects. And I remember when a few years after I got here in the mid '80s, somebody told me the story about the shooting, and I just couldn't believe it. So years later, I decided to start digging into it, and sure enough, it's. I hope it'll progress to something written or maybe for the screen, but we're not there yet. So.
Yeah, very interesting story. In fact, still to this day, if you drive up to Knutsford, you take a left on either Rose Hill Road or Long Lake Road or one of those roads, it's on private property, but if you do go on there a nice summer day and you hop a fence and you go through the fields, if you can walk far enough, you'll come to the top of the waterfalls you can't see that go down Peterson Creek, but midway there, what's there?
Well, there is a cairn.
A cairn.
That
the father of George
John.
Booth.
Apparently his name was John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth. Imagine that. Eh?
There you go.
Yeah.
A different guy, obviously, but he built it in honor of in
memory of his son. Yeah. And it's got rocks and
right below the TV
tower.
Well, there's a microwave tower.
Yeah.
Up there, so it's down below on a bench.
Isn't that amazing, eh?
Yeah.
I think that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating. It's truly fascinating.
Do you want to tell us about the calendar? How can people support?
Well, I guess the simplest thing is probably it's not available in stores. Isn't that what they say on?
Yeah.
Not available in stores.
K-Tel.
Send me an email, I guess, at atcblues@gmail.com.
Okay.
And we can work it out. I'll just meet somebody somewhere. And
how much do these things go for?
They're $20, of which the bulk goes to recoup the net or the expenses, and then the net goes to Kamloops brain injury.
Photo editor Dave Eagles.
There you go.
The Hawk's everywhere now.
Dave the Hawk Eagles.
Yeah, there you go. Look at some of these photos. You should put some of these photos on because they're really, really cool.
Like we got pushed out of the standing day because him and Eagles still meet for beer, but we don't get the invite.
I guess not, eh? We should revive that Wings night at the Fox just once in a while.
We could.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Are you off the Fox? Or you just...
No. I just don't come out of the house much anymore.
Yeah.
This is a rare occasion.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you came in.
Praise be.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Brent. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Volkswagen.
Foulds is yawning. Phone's going off, yawning. Doesn't care. High school basketball. I want to talk about the Fulton Cup high school basketball. You like that tournament?
I love it. It's like the Spengler Cup of Kamloops. You got all the city and outlying areas basketball teams. I like it because you got teams that are normally play just A or AA or AAA. They usually all play together, so you're up against. It's like an open tournament.
You've got St. Anne's versus South Cam, which would never happen otherwise. You must love this conversation already too.
I went to high school at Fulton Secondary School, so I was wondering if it had anything to do
Maroons.
with that. The
Maroons,
Fulton
Maroons.
Yeah, they're not there.
No, it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with the
Fulton
Maroons.
Company, the law firm, sponsors it and has actually for more than 25 years and donated $80,000 in bursaries.
Wow. You got teams from like Barrie or Clearwater, all the city, and they play. The junior boys, junior girls, senior boys, and they all each division wins a championship.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I don't mind plugging sponsors like that. I mean, that's a.
Well,
they're helping 14 more this year. It's $300 each. These sponsor scholarships go to athletes.
It's community. Community's supposed to help each other.
Yeah,
that's great. Awesome.
Fulton Cup. It runs 20th to the 22nd, so Wednesday to Friday at the TCC. They have their media conference every single year, and I love to go to it. It's a great chance to get some high school kids some love and show what they're up to in the community. And a new guy's taking over. So Will Blair, do you know who Will Blair is? He's a longtime teacher, great organizer of this tournament. One of the nicest guys. Every year he gets the media involved and he gets all the high school students gathered and all the press in one place. So he's kind of taking a step aside, and Sean Garvey is taking over. Sean Garvey is a well-known
former Wolfpack basketball player.
Yes, basketball guy.
Yep.
Still involved in basketball, and he's kind of taking over organizing this tournament. And he has some new ideas. He didn't want to give too many away, but one of them he did, and it's a half-court shot to win a car. They're going to have that most likely. He said it's not 100% done deal yet, but it sounds like it's going to happen on the Friday night of one of the finals where people, I think it's going to be students or parents, whoever wants to. I don't know exactly the format, but there's going to be some kind of competition where you can go, and if you make a half-court shot, you're going to win a car.
It's not a burned out car.
That's the thing.
That's being moved.
It's Reid's car from his lot. That's the thing is we don't know what car it is. But anyway, I asked students about that. You can see that in this video right here.
I've always got ideas.
Anyone care to share?
No, not yet. Not until I get things off the ground. But actually, we'll share one. I think we're doing a half-court shot for a car during the championship game. Is something I've added this year.
This year? Half-court shot for a car?
In the championship, yeah. Free entry to draw. But we haven't finalized that yet. So But that's in the works.
Interesting. So do you know which, that'd be the final day of the tournament then?
Final day will be Friday the 22nd. I think the championship game's around 7:15, and so we'll do the half-court shot at halftime of that championship game.
Did you hear about this half-court shot to win a car?
No, I had no idea, but hopefully I get to shoot it because I would love a new car. I really need one right now.
What do you drive right now?
92 Accord.
92
Christmas
Accord.
lights.
Christmas lights?
Oh, it's got Christmas lights under the dash.
Okay.
I did not hear anything about that yet.
I just heard about it too.
That's
do you
exciting.
have a car?
I do have a car, but I wouldn't mind getting another one.
2004 Toyota Camry.
Okay, I hear there's rumors of a half-court shot to win a car this year.
Really?
What would you do if you made that shot?
I would sell my car and then have that one.
Sean Garvey is so connected to the basketball community. He knows everybody. He knows all the coaches. He knows all the kids. He's got a lot of energy. And I just think it's time for that new energy to come and build some new connections and try some new things. So he's excited about taking it on, and I'm always going to be here to kind of help him and support him.
I drive a Subaru, an Impreza.
Okay, what year, do you know?
2018.
2018. Did you hear this rumor? I heard there's going to be a half-court shot to win a car this year.
Oh, really?
That's what I hear.
I don't know. Maybe I'd give it to my parents.
You wouldn't keep it, eh?
Well, I already have one.
That's right. Okay.
It's meant the world to me. I love this tournament. I love seeing the kids from Kamloops. They come together. They look forward to it every year. I get to hang out in the gym and watch ball for 3 days before the Christmas break. It's a cool event, and it's something that I'm going to continue to attend as long as it's here, and I think it's going to be here a long time.
And you can win a car if you make it. Have you heard these rumors?
No, that'd be sick though. I need a car. So that'd
Do you
be
have
sick.
a car now?
I don't have a car. I'm driving my mom's car, so I'd love a car.
If you made that shot in front of all these people,
I think we'd all be jumping up and down. I think my parents would celebrate the hardest. They're trying to find one, and it's pretty hard right now.
They wouldn't have to buy you a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for us at Fulton, community is really big. So we like to get behind anything with that sort of community focus to it. And it's just something we really like to do to foster that kind of community spirit.
Have you heard these rumors about a half-court shot to win a car?
No, I haven't heard about that actually.
What do you drive?
I drive a Honda Civic SI 2012.
Okay, so you're not in real need of a car.
It's in the shop at the moment, but I'm not in need of a car now, I would say.
If you made that shot, how would you celebrate?
Well, what car am I getting?
What did you drive in high school, Mike?
My car that I drove was a 14-foot milk van.
No way.
Yes, yeah. I had the biggest vehicle in high school. We didn't have extra vehicles, and that's what I drove.
A 14-foot milk van?
Yep.
What color?
It was 1979. It was white. I sold it to Sam's Custom Cabinets here in Kamloops in the 90s. I don't know if it's still around or not.
That's
but
cool. That's very cool.
I guess a milk van would be white.
Yeah, well, usually. The only remember they should deliver the milk to your doorstep.
Yeah, we used it. That was our main delivery truck for our sound company. So we would go out and do concerts and stuff. And I was really getting into, because you turn 16, you get your license, and I started doing a lot of concerts. And after school, I'd go straight to the store, and we'd go and do different shows and stuff.
Did you hotbox it? Sounds
Never
like
hotbox that. No.
What about you?
I didn't get licensed until I was 24. So I didn't have
Whoa,
a car. I
what?
didn't have a car.
Big news.
Did you live at
I learned
home
to drive
too
till I
till
was
you're 24?
Why?
I just never. I'm not a car guy. I never wanted to drive. I would always. I lived in Abbotsford, where I got my buddies had cars. I moved to Edmonton to go to college. You got buses there. I lived in Vancouver for a while. So when I got my first job as a reporter in Abbotsford in '92, I was 24 out of college. I didn't know how to drive. So for the first couple months, I was cabbing it. I was faking it, getting this, and I was getting expensive. So I took some 3 lessons, got my license, and there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's got to be more to the story. Like, not being a car guy,
no,
that's not enough. Like, are you a guy who likes to get around places?
Yeah, but there was enough options. My buddies had cars. I'd buy a 6-pack. We'd jump in his car, get some dope. Spend the weekend doing our stuff. Right? They always had the cars, right? Get some acid. I get another buddy with the cars. That was the weekends back there. But I never a lot of my friends are like, hey, when I turn 16, I'm going to get a car. I just don't care about cars. I just want something A to B. And at that time, there was even no bus service in Abbotsford. So it was basically, get some dope, get some booze, and your buddy, you go to your parties, you go to house parties, you go back and forth, you end up walking home, and that's all we needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
An 84 Accord. Yeah. We called
Very
it the
safe,
Bronze
sensible.
Bomber.
Yeah.
And my buddy actually crashed it on the way to a rugby game. I couldn't drive. I think it's still my learner, so my buddy had to drive it, and he rear-ended somebody and ended up getting a blue hood on it.
Oh wow!
So we had the bronze,
racing stripe.
It was just a big blue hood on a brown car. I eventually totaled that car too. But that's my story.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap the show here. And before we do, I want to talk a little bit about the emergency weather shelter real quick. That's back on Kamloops Alliance Church.
North end of Overlanders Bridge. Last year was the first year, the Mustard Seed and the church together, they run this emergency shelter. I think if it gets to -10 or 5 centimeters of snow,
or 5 centimeters of accumulated snow,
they open up the shelter. And last year it was very well done, because the operators, Mustard Seed and the church, they went out and they canvassed the neighborhood and said, this is what we're going to do. Any suggestions? They were very proactive, and it turns out that was one of the most successful shelters in the city, with very few complaints and efficiency, and a lot of volunteers helping move the people back and forth. It could be a model for how shelters are built in Kamloops.
They're doing it again this year. That's all I wanted to talk about that. But they're also, Kamloops Alliance Church, they're doing 2 Christmas Eve services up at Sun Peaks. They're expecting about 800 people. I think it's the first time of this magnitude they've done it.
Wow.
There's ever been a Christmas Eve service like this up there. Part of it is they just want to kind of have a festive church occasion, but they're also planning to plant a church up there. I think it would be the first. I think it would be the
first physical church.
First physical church in Sun Peaks, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is Chris Thronis. He's the lead pastor, and I had a quick chat with him.
So over the last, Marty, 12 months, we've really been in a discernment process to figure out where's another church that we can start or plant. And so we've identified Sun Peaks as a growing local municipality. More and more people are wanting to be a part of a very cool and expanding city up there. And so there's no permanent local church up there. And so a part of our process is to say, hey, we're here and we want to be a part of the story of Sun Peaks on a longer term scale. So how do we start that? Well, we're going to start that this Christmas. On Christmas Eve, we are going up to the Grand Hotel ballrooms, and we are hosting 2 services, 5:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. there in the ballroom for the people, the masses that are going to be there at Sun Peaks over that Christmas season. And so we're thrilled, we're excited, a little fearful too about doing something new, but the anticipation level is quite high.
And what can people expect at these services?
Yeah, so they'll be 60 minutes long, 5:30 to 6:30, then 7:30 to 8:30. Live band, lively but reflective Christmas carols, a message of hope, some stories of transformation that we get to share with people, and then some light refreshments and hospitality at the end, just to say, hey, Merry Christmas to everybody who attends. They're family friendly, 60 minutes long, family friendly. Any age is welcome, and we're just so thrilled to welcome people there.
For people who don't know, I mean, you don't have to be a religious person or a Christian to go to these services, correct?
No, totally. We actually have a lot of maybe the skeptic or the person who doesn't come to these services a lot in mind when we craft them. So yeah, anybody's welcome. It's just going to be such a warm, kind of nostalgic, reflective Christmas service that is open to anybody.
Did you ever go to Christmas Eve services?
No, but Dave Eagles used to belong to that church.
Yeah.
The Alliance, yeah.
How about you? You guys ever any church services?
Yeah, Catholic churches and yeah.
Yeah. We used to go 11 o'clock service at Peace Portal every year. So you can find that complete interview on our YouTube page. He talks a lot more about the emergency weather shelter and what they're doing up at Sun Peak. So Kamloops Last Week YouTube page for that. That's about it for the show. Remember, questions for Buddy and Santa, email those.
So excited about that.
Yeah.
Kamloops Last Week at gmail.com.
Yes.
Santa's coming. Santa's coming.
Yes. Thanks to the Kamloops Blazers, to Maca Ranch. These are all our sponsors. To Volkswagen at Kamloops, to McDonald's, and to Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. We can't do this show without you. We're up to 535 subscribers. We're going towards 600. We're going to get there quick. For Christopher Foulds, for Magic Mike, and for Bill, I'm Marty. We'll see you last week.